Namaste, yogis. It is a wonderful morning here in Atlanta, Georgia. I am on a walk in the Lullwater Park, which happens to be located right in the middle of the Emory University campus. Anyways, I thought it would be a perfect day to make a video on the spiritual and historical origins of 10 yoga poses. Before we go into the 10 yoga poses I'm going to discuss in this video, it's worth mentioning the point of yoga and these yoga postures. And that is to enhance our perception. Now, where does perception come from? Well, it's our senses. And our senses are governed by the central nervous system, which travels through the spine. So if we want to enhance our perception, then a certain mastery over the spine is necessary. So with that, let's jump into the 10 yoga poses. The first pose on our list is the lotus pose, or Padmasana. This pose symbolizes spiritual growth and the shift from primal instinct to conscious control. Just as the lotus flower grows out of the mud into the beautiful bloom, we can think of primal instinct as being driven by our compulsions or animalistic behavior. The gift of being human is that we can conduct ourselves consciously. When we put down our compulsions and conduct ourselves consciously, we embody the lotus flower and the Padmasana pose. The lotus pose was first documented in the Pashupati seal around 2400 BCE. Pose number 2 is the accomplished pose, or Siddhasana. This is another seated meditation pose. We see this pose mentioned in the 10th century works of the sage Matsyendra, leading the Hatha revival movement. This meditation posture is considered to be one of the most important yoga poses alongside the lotus pose. Siddhasana is said to break through the doors of liberation, symbolizing the yogi's journey towards complete clarity. Pose number 3 is the Cobra Pose, or Bhujangasana. This pose is said to awaken inner energy, symbolizing the rise of Kundalini, or what we call cerebrospinal fluid, from the base of the spine all the way up into the brain. This creates profound senses of clarity and transformation. The cobra is a great emblem of transformation as it regularly sheds its skin. Pose number 4 is the triangle pose, or Trikonasana. Triangle pose also comes from the later Hatha yoga traditions. The triangle represents balance and transformation, reminding us that nothing is truly destroyed. Pose number 5 is the Warrior 2, or Virabhadrasana 2. Warrior 2 is said to be named after the mythical warrior Virabhadra. The pose represents the strength needed to confront inner and outer challenges with grace. According to legend, Shiva created Virabhadra to avenge the death of a beloved. But the lesson of the Warrior 2 pose is that violence and revenge only increase suffering. Looking at it from an anatomical perspective, suffering and trauma often stores itself in the inner legs. This is because of our innate instinct to run in the face of challenges and danger. The Warrior 2 pose strengthens and frees up restrictions in the inner legs. The next pose on our list is the Subscribe pose. Pose number 6 is the Standing Forward Bend, or Uttanasana. The Sanskrit word uttan refers to extending beyond your personal and physical limitations. And when we translate this to the body, in the Standing Forward Bend, you're extending your entire back body from heel all the way to crown of head. References to this pose date back to the 10th century revival of Hatha Yoga. Pose number 7 is the Staff Pose, or Dandasana. The Staff Pose is considered to be the foundation of all seated poses and dates back to some of the earliest references of yoga practices. The staff, or danda, is said to represent the spine. The Staff Pose strengthens the muscles necessary to hold an upright spine and thus allow your central nervous system to conduct itself unimpeded. This provides a very strong base for seated meditation and enhancing one's perception. Pose number 8 is the headstand, or Shirshasana. Headstand is often called the king of all yoga poses. It is a later addition to the Hatha Yoga tradition, likely developed during the Hatha Yoga revival of the 14th century. Headstand builds confidence and inner strength, helping the yogi overcome fear. Think about it. If you can do the headstand, you can face whatever life throws at you with strength and grace. Inverting also represents a shift in perspective, inviting us to see the world as it truly is with complete clarity. Pose number 9 is the wheel pose, or Virabhadrasana. The wheel pose suggests the cyclical nature of life and the yogi's responsibility to break through those cycles. This pose is another product of the Hatha revival movement in the 14th century. The wheel pose represents the transformation from being stuck in the physical cycles to going beyond. The physical parallels lie in the iliopsoas muscle, or the hip flexors. It is this muscle that allowed human beings to come off all fours into our bipedal position, which scientists credit with the rapid pace of evolution of the human neurological system. Without our robust iliopsoas muscle, we very well could still be running around on all fours, sniffing for an evening meal. Pose number 10, and the last pose in this video, is the corpse pose, or Shavasana. If you've been to a conventional yoga class, you've probably taken Shavasana at the very end of class. After you've done all that hard work, it's time to lay down and relax. But there's more to it than that. The English translation to Shavasana is corpse pose, which can seem rather morbid, but this is referring to not a physical death, but more of a spiritual death, where we let go of all of our temporary attachments, to-do lists, inboxes, and come into a state of what we truly are. It is the practice of non-resistance. That's going to do it for this video, everyone. I hope it inspired you to either start a yoga practice or further your own existing practice. And I will see you in the next video. Namaste.